Alrighty, Providence versus C.F.G. What's C.F.G? I'm just making stuff up now because people keep moaning at me, so I'm just going to make all the stuff up. C.F.G, Ceska, Fenris, Grupo. The difference between these is literally 3-piece Providence is 15% headshot, 10%, I said it probably on 10% crit chance, 15% crit damage, where CFG is 10% crit chance, 10% AR, 15% crit damage. Essentially you're getting the exact same, but you're swapping 15% headshot for 10% AR. And the way we're going to be looking at these builds is quite simply 3-piece Prov, Foxes, Contractors, and using Dodge City Holster, simply because it's quite neutral in its effect in a weird way. And then all we're going to do for the other is going to swap out 3-piece Providence for our CFG, Ceska, Fenris, Grupo. I am going to be using glass cannon normally, which is why I've not put the chest talent in. The backpack talent is going to remain as vigilance, and we're just going to compare overall DPS. Now the weapon we're going to be using is a FAMAS, and hopefully my new layout makes it a little bit easier to see. As you can see, for headshot DPS, the Providence Defense does do 0.9% more than CFG. However, on body DPS, CFG does 4.3% more. And that's kind of where I thought this video would end, and also why I'm kind of rushing this, just because I started playing around with a few things and I noticed something. If we just, I don't know, say we have a weapon with plus 20 expertise on headshot, what was a 0.9% increase is now a 1.2% increase. And with CFG, what was a 4.3% increase is now just a 4% increase. Now interestingly, this works completely opposite if you actually drop weapon damage. So here I've only got 50% weapon damage, kind of replicating a PvP build. And in this case, Ceska, Fenris, Grupo wins across the board. Not by particularly too much on headshot DPS, but Ceska, Fenris, Grupo seems to outperform most other instances with lower all weapon damage. So yeah, if you're going into PvP or you are a PvP player and you're running 3-piece Providence, I'm not too sure on the scalings with PvP, but from just testing here, it does seem to be that you would be better off running Ceska, Fenris, Grupo. Read into that what you will. Now, going forward, for all further testing, we are going to assume that the weapon we are going to be using is at plus 20 expertise, just to try and highlight the difference that is made utilizing varying different multipliers in different setups, simply at the highest level, which might give you an indicator of why, 1, the meta is the meta, and 2, where you might potentially want to go with your varying DPS builds. Now, if you are going to be running 3-piece Providence, and in this testing I'm running glass cannon, you're most likely going to be running Sacrifice for perfect glass cannon. And as you can see, with perfect glass cannon, with plus 20 on your weapon, the body DPS for the builds is the exact same, which is quite weird. They equalize out. However, their head DPS for the Providence Defense gets 5.3 increase. So if you're going for maximum DPS, Providence Defense really does either hold its own on all forms or does outperform. However, now there comes a catch. So again, for our Providence Defense testing, this is the build we are running. What if you don't want to run Dodge City Holster? We actually have 3 options. We could run Grupo, Fenris, Ceska, Walker Harris. Could move things around and run Coyote's Mask. We have a lot more options on what we're able to get. This one alleviates pressure on the RNG for us to get desirable pieces. We can just get like a placeholder for now, and as we find new pieces we can move up and adjust and adapt. We could potentially just stick with Dodge City. I would actually suggest sticking with Dodge City. You have no idea how often this piece has saved my ass. But the point is, we have options. However, with Fenris, Ceska, Grupo, just sticking with the confines of a DPS build, you have two options: Walker Harris and Providence Defense. Walker Harris for another 5% all weapon damage, and Providence Defense for 15% headshot. Now, obviously we can move things around, but you're not really going to get that much out of it in comparison to just being able to just stack more crit damage or more AR damage and just do so much more. In the confines of what we had with the Ceska, Fenris, Grupo, Walker and Harris would be your best bet. However, this is where it does really start to fall short with just general build diversity. So now on the Prov build, we have replaced Dodge City Holster with Grupo, and on the Fenris build, we've replaced Dodge City Holster with Walker Harris. As you can see here, like, this Providence Defense is now just wiping the floor with it. Admittedly, yes, we are still using Perfect Last Cannon, so there is an extra 5% in the multipliers. Don't worry, I'll get to Obliterate in a minute. Now again, with the Ceska Fenris Grupo, we're keeping the Walker Harris holster, but if we swap the Grupo holster on the Providence build for Fenris, it's still... Providence is still just doing more, even in comparison to body shots. Now, we're going to suspend our disbelief for a second. What if the Ceska Fenris Grupo build had a magical 7-piece and we just slotted in a Prov piece for the 15% headshot damage, just to give you an idea of just how potentially powerful 3-piece Prov with Perfect Last Cannon actually is. Okay, so it can't happen, but just to give you an idea. So even with Ceska Fenris Grupo running a magical 7-piece, which gives it another 15% headshot damage, it still cannot compete. Although weirdly, if you started dropping weapon damage, you get the complete opposite of this. So essentially what I'm trying to tell you is, for PvE builds, you really do want 3-piece Providence. It just, especially when you start building up your expertise, it just ends up being not a lot more, but it does end up being more, even in comparison to body DPS versus headshot DPS. Providence Defense does still just win out, and during the earlier stages of your build, although it won't do potentially as much as Ceska Fenris Grupo, it is still directly comparable, and on those occasional headshots that you may or may not be getting, the benefits will outweigh the cons. Now, for all those lovely people that go, oh yeah, but glass cannon just gets you killed. 1, no it doesn't. 2, don't worry, I've got you covered. So even with Obliterate, the same trends basically apply. We have nothing in AMP 1, AMP 2 or anything, and total weapon damage is now 0.5. Even with 3-piece Providence, headshot is still winning out, and with body shot, C.F.G is winning out. And when I say the same trends still apply, I do mean this, because when we put plus 20 expertise in, the gap for headshot gets larger and the gap for body shot gets smaller. The only catch to this now is, because the multipliers are going to be the exact same, it cannot catch up on body shots. However, if we then apply this to a PvP build and drop our all weapon damage, so we're simulating having a few armor cores now, as you can see, even on headshot and especially still on body shot, Ceska Fenris Grupo will beat Providence. So yeah, read into this what you will. Personally, I would suggest if you're playing PvE, 3-piece Providence will always win. Well, not always, but what you lose, you certainly make up for in other areas, and they are directly comparable. However, if you're playing PvP, I don't know what the hell you would put in your 6th slot. I haven't actually even looked at PvP builds ever, but Ceska Fenris Grupo absolutely does seem to be the way to go. I do hope this has helped clear things up. I am looking at doing comparisons using full sets, so 3-piece Fenris, 3-piece Overlord. and this is kind of getting me started on that path. So if you've ever been curious about that, don't worry, I've got it covered. In the meantime, have fun, good luck, and don't die. It's bad for the health.